welcome to our book club discussion. This month we're talking about Same Game, New Rules by Bill Caskey.
Yes.
So I'm Paula Williams.
And I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help you folks out there sell more products and services in the aviation world.
Absolutely. So this month, this book is Bill Caskey. He has a podcast, and it's one of the longest running business podcasts on the web. And that's how I first came across Bill Caskey, was the Advanced Selling podcast, which is about business to business selling, and it's actually a really good conversation between Bill Caskey and his partner, who talk about how to make sales in business to business, and they're very non-hypey, non-salesy, what you think of traditionally as salesy, and very solution-oriented. And their style is something that I really enjoy as far as sales skills and things like that. So what were your first impressions of the book?
Well, there was a lot of good stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to think a little bit about the old versus the new.
Mm-hmm.
But the things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
And your approach needs to change with it.
Right, exactly.
And this tells you how.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you think about, most of the sales literature has really been based on Zig Ziglar, for the past 50 years or so, and for a good reason. He gets great results and all of those things. But customers have changed. Our style of working with each other has changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Competition has changed. There's a lot of things that have changed, so that you cannot do a lot of the things that Zig advocates and get away with it anymore. Customers are a lot smarter and more sophisticated than they were maybe 20 years ago.
Salespeople on the whole are more educated
Mm-hmm.
and experienced.
Right, exactly. I think the biggest difference, if we were to boil it down, would be removing fear as the motivating factor in the sales process. And it used to be that, if you looked at some of the Gordon Gekko movies, or the other kinds of things, the coffee is for closers, high pressure situations, that sets up one kind of relationship. And I would say Bill Caskey is on the other end of the spectrum as far as setting up relationships between salespeople and
The attitude
buyers.
used to be that you would hire 10 sales guys, and then at the end of the quarter, whoever was the lowest would get fired, and you hire somebody else.
Exactly.
And repeat that every quarter. And they didn't care
Mm-hmm.
that they used that fear as motivation, and it didn't bother them at all.
No. But what that does is it sets it up so that you're making sales that you shouldn't. So you're selling products to people that maybe don't want or need them. And in today's world, that's going to lead to negative reviews, that's going to lead to bad relationships, that's going to lead to a lot of things that weren't a problem 20 years ago, but are now, for sure, right?
Well, that's because of the way things are so interconnected electronically.
Absolutely. So the customer has a lot more say in the relationship now than they used to. And this actually is a much better way of doing business. If you think about your sales career, and you think about, well, what's going to happen to me if I don't make this sale? I'm not going to get fired. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to explode. None of that stuff is going to happen. You just want to look at it from the perspective of, what is the best solution for me, and what is the best solution for my customer? Can I make a win-win out of this? If I can't make a win-win out of this, I'm perfectly willing to walk away with no regrets and no fear, right? All right. So what he does, and I really like the way he set this up, is he set up, here's what the old thinking is, kind of the Zig Ziglar old thinking model, versus new thinking. And so the one chapter that I thought was really helpful in setting up this mindset thing is the old thinking about that sales is a mechanical process. If I say the right words and push the right buttons, I'm going to make a sale. And it's not about that. It's actually about, it has a lot more to do with what you're thinking and what your mindset is, because if 80% of communication is nonverbal, what's going on in your head comes across on your face and your gestures and your words that you choose and all that stuff.
It's going to be interesting to see how some companies handle this, because I remember going to a sales course for an unnamed company
Okay.
a bazillion years ago, and when we finished 3 weeks, they told us, now you walk outside the building,
Mm-hmm.
this was in LA,
Mm-hmm.
and throw a rock up, and whichever way it rolls, you walk that way, and you sell every person you pass.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. I mean, their process, everything, it was very low pressure, but it worked. And I don't think it will these days.
No. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is because not every person that you were selling to, or that the graduates from this program were selling to, needed that product or service.
No, but when you finished your short talk,
Mm-hmm.
they felt like they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, sure, sign me up.
Right. But then, a week or 10 days later, they're going to
But that was not my problem. That
That's
became
somebody
the
else's
company's
problem.
problem.
Okay.
And they told me that walking out the door.
Right. Well, nowadays it is our problem, as the owners of the company and also the sales folks. And in most of the aviation industry, people are not just hired gun salespeople. They also have some equity in the company, and they have some stake in the game if the product is returned or if the customer has a bad experience.
I'm not even going there. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is it's going to be interesting to see. It would be interesting to go back
Mm-hmm.
and go through that sales program again and see how they do it now.
Right, exactly. So the old thinking is that psychological babble is for wimps. Popeye said it best, I am what I am. If that's not good enough, tough. It doesn't matter what my mindset is, I just need to say the right words and push the right buttons and throw the right levers at the right time, and I will make a sale. It's a mechanical process.
Which is exactly what it was for me then.
Exactly. And nowadays, the new thinking, I understand that I have to take inventory of my skills and shortcomings. Changes up to me. So if I want to make more sales, I have to change the way I feel about my prospects. I have to change the way I feel about the product in a lot of cases, because that is going to come across in the way I talk about it and the way that people perceive me, because people are incredibly smart and they register things that they don't even know they're registering.
And they're experienced.
Exactly. It's kind of like, I think it's Malcolm Gladwell's Thinking Fast and Slow. People have so many pieces of information that they process that they have no idea where they're coming from or what they are. But they know if somebody's trying to scam them. And
True.
people have much better feelers now than I think they used to.
Well, and I wasn't trying to scam them. That wasn't it, because everything was serious, and it was something that you could convince people they needed.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Now we're going to get lots of mail about what was that product and where do I get one? Exactly. It was legal, right?
Oh, yes, it was
Okay.
legal.
Cool.
And no, it wasn't drugs.
Good. All right. So next chapter, process makes perfect. The old thinking is my prospect decides what, when, and how much. The new thinking is I decide what, when, and how much. Now this depends on having a process, because you need to have more leads than you need.
Yep.
You have to be able to fire them if they don't fit your criteria, or if they get demanding, or if they want too big of a discount, or a discount at all in some cases. Whatever the situation is, you do not bend over backwards for customers if you've got enough of them coming in the door.
Right.
It changes the whole power relationship
And
if you have a process.
And when people realize they need this,
Mm-hmm.
and they call us, and we help them do that.
Right, exactly. Our lead generator program is designed exactly for that, to generate enough leads so that,
They can follow the new thinking.
right, if a prospect isn't suitable for whatever reason, you don't make the sale
Just to make the sale.
exactly to somebody that's going to be unhappy and that is going to be a pain in the neck. And
In
that is
some
gonna
cases, if you force the sale like that, they become overburdening to your customer support folks.
Absolutely. Right. So, don't make a sale to a person that doesn't deserve it, right?
Exactly.
Or that isn't a good fit, really, is the best way of putting that. Okay, next chapter. You have only one chance at a clean beginning. I cannot tell you how many times I have screwed this up in the past. where I have been too accommodating to people at the beginning of a sales relationship, especially when we were starting our company and we needed the sales, and we would, basically take the money from anybody with a pulse and a checkbook that wanted to buy from us. We have learned since then that some customers are better than others, and the law of numbers is not always working in our favor.
And besides that, we don't take checks anymore.
Right. So the old thinking is, if I can just talk to enough people, the law of numbers will eventually pay me dividends. The new thinking is, my time is my most precious asset. I must start with a masterful beginning with each new prospect. So, like John said, if their only way of doing business is with checks, that's probably not a great customer for us. If somebody blows us off for 3 meetings in a row without an explanation, that's not going to be a great customer for us.
True. I mean, if they need a check for the first time, and maybe as long as after that is electronic, then it's not a problem.
Right, exactly. And so, you need to think about what makes a great customer for you and what makes a terrible customer for you. And that clean beginning really helps you set up, here's what I'm going to put up with, here's what I'm not going to put up with. I'm not going to waste a lot of time with somebody that looks like they're not going to be a great customer. Right?
True.
Okay. Cool. Next chapter that I bookmarked was the commodity dungeon.
Great.
Yeah. So, if your product or service is a commodity, and a lot of people coming from an engineering background kind of think in this black and white sort of way. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, having been on both sides of that line.
Mm-hmm. And they want to sell products sell products by outlining the features and benefits, and just basically do a comparison with all the other products. Here's mine does this, yours does that, mine does this, yours does that, mine's a better product. Of course people are going to make that decision. But it's not about necessarily the products and the features and benefits. It's like, something might be a benefit to you that isn't to me.
Yeah, you need to be looking at what the customer really wants for the solution.
Exactly. So, you might say that a G550 is a better airplane than a Cessna 172, but depending on what your mission is, the 172 might be a better solution to whatever it is that your customer wants. And so you want to think in terms of solutions to the customer's problem, not in terms of features and benefits.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you blow them out of the water if it's not what they need, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so this is about the customer, not about features and benefits.
Which is exactly why you need a pipeline full of potential customers.
Exactly. All right, this is one of my favorites. The more you talk, the more likely you are to say something stupid. I talk a lot.
Nah, perish the thought.
Especially in our podcast, I don't talk as much in sales calls as I used to.
That's good.
I know, and there's a reason for that, and this is why. The old thinking is, if I do all the talking, I'm in control and people see how smart I am, right?
Yeah.
The new thinking, if I listen more, I'm in control. I'm also less likely to bring up something to which my prospect will object.
Not like that. If you're listening more, that means you're asking questions and letting them do all the talking.
Exactly. And once again, the whole sales process should be about the customer. Mm-hmm. If you're doing all the talking, you don't know anything about the customer after spending half an hour with them.
Exactly. Sort of like dating.
There you go. Exactly. Cool. All right, next topic. Your need for approval will cost you thousands. This is another one that really hit home for me. It doesn't matter if the customer likes me or not, right? It doesn't matter if the customer even likes the product or not. What matters is if it's going to solve his problem. So, old thinking, if I can get them to like me, they are more likely to buy from me. The new thinking is, the selling profession is to help my prospects solve problems. The only approval that matters to me is my own when I successfully carry out that mission. So I'm going to feel good about it if I spent my time understanding and applying or not my product to that customer's problem.
Of course.
And coming to a good conclusion about, is this a good fit or is this not a good fit? And then it was a successful sales call if we come to a conclusion, a yes, no, or
Not now.
not now.
Mhm.
Right, exactly. That is a success, and that is all the approval
That
we
little
need.
formula can really make it easy to do sales calls if you've got a full platform.
Absolutely. Right, so yeah, don't obsess over the customer's approval or disapproval. Okay. Now, this, I think, was a really good case study that they included in here. This is Al, the insurance guy. And so, we're in aviation. Some of us may be insurance, but it has some similarities with what the rest of us do. So, his prior year commissions were $65,000, and his goal was to get to $120,000. This was a consulting client of Bill Caskey's. So Bill went through an inventory with Al and said, okay, so where did you get the customers that brought you $65,000 last year? Okay, what was the sources of all of those leads
Mm-hmm.
that actually turned out to be customers? Let's look at those things and take the top three. Okay, you never want to take the top one because diversity is stability, right?
Yep.
And things do change. So the difference was that he had Al spend more of his time doing those top three activities that had brought him the business last year. So the successful ways of generating business. And he calls that CMA, or concerted market activity,
Mm-hmm.
right? I love that term. We should use that. Although we use a different terminology, we call it a sales system or a sales process. Or a marketing system or a marketing process, because really that's what brings those leads to you. So, the difference between the year prior and the year after was that Al had enough high quality leads that he could fire them if they didn't qualify.
Exactly.
Now, he didn't fire all that many of them. Obviously, he made a lot more sales the second year, right? But the fact that he could changed his bearing, it changed his approach, it changed
Attitude.
his mindset, like we talked about at the beginning. If you go into a room knowing, I don't have to make this sale, it's a completely different thing than if you go into the room going, my rent is due and da-da-da-da,
Yeah, you go in there, you don't make the sale, and you walk out and you go have a beer with the guy.
Absolutely. So you end up being friends anyway, and you probably end up getting referrals from people that, maybe you're not a good fit, right?
We've done that.
We've done that. It's just like, what, this is a completely not good fit. But you know what, I know somebody who needs what you do. And those are great conversations to have, and there is nothing wrong with ending a conversation that way and becoming friends with somebody that you don't sell to.
Yep.
So, and the difference is that he was not being held hostage for deals.
Right.
It changed the nature of the relationship. You become, and I've said this before in other podcasts about sales, if you are the big dog in the room, you have the opportunity to be friendly because you're not threatened like the little dog, that's yapping continually and shivering in the corner. If you're the big dog in the room, you're a whole lot more relaxed, you're a whole lot more able to be friendly, and a whole lot more able to deal with whatever comes up because you can always just get up and leave.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we do have a little video clip from Jeremy Cox of Jet Brokers, who really liked this book as well. So we'll add this here. So go sell more stuff.
America needs the business, even though he's old school.
Right.
Some of the stuff is still valid.
Absolutely. America still needs the business.
That's right.
Some of the things that Zig said are still true, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So have a good week. We'll see you next time.
See you later.